Hello everyone and welcome to another Premier League review show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy and I'm your host for today's show. It feels like forever since we did our last review due to the international break, but we keep the ball rolling as we review all the games in match week 4, and there were certainly some shocking results as well as a couple belters. So let's begin the show with the first match, and that is the North London derby, Tottenham versus Arsenal. Now, a lot of build-up in regards to this game, as Arsenal picked up a few injuries, including Odegaard and Marino, who were on the sidelines. Then Declan Rice was also suspended due to his red card against Brighton in match week 3. So you have to say Spurs were certainly favourites on paper, or they should have had the upper hand to go all out and get the victory over their neighbours. Well, that's not exactly how it panned out. So let's discuss the key moments of the game. Arsenal almost took the lead early on as Martinelli hits a fantastic cross from the left-hand side, and Havertz is on the receiving end with a header. Vicario makes a spectacular save to deny the German attacker, and then moments later Martinelli hits the opposition with a counter-attack. He's through on goal. Saka is on the other side in acres of space, but he decides to go alone and ends up hitting the ball straight at the goalkeeper. New Tottenham signing Solanke almost brought the deadlock with his looping header, but the ball goes past for a goal kick. Timber gets himself involved in a bit of a melee as he produces a strong tackle on Pedro Porro. Spurs players, including Vicario, went toe-to-toe with the defender there, and as well as the fans screaming for a red card. But for me, it's not the right red card. It's more of a yellow card challenge, as his foot was on top of the ball and not directly on top on the player in terms of his legs. So for me, it was the right decision from the officials. But in the second half, it was Gabriel who gets on the score sheet, not the striker, but the centre-back who leaps in the air and buries the header to give the Gunners the lead. And you can see what it means to him as he went berserk with his celebrations. Question marks over the keeper's positioning, who pretty much stayed on his line, and I think he should have done better. In those moments, you want the keeper to make their presence felt, and I feel like he should have tried to punch the ball away from goal, but that was not the case. Spurs didn't really respond much, to be fair. They had a shot from Kulusevski from outside of the box, but his effort went over the bar. And that's the end of the game. The North London is red, and Spurs should be disappointed and annoyed that they didn't take advantage of the game. Ange Postecoglou said after the game that he wins silverware wherever he goes. For me, not the time and place to make ridiculous statements, but credit to Arsenal. They got the job done and they move up to second place. On to the next fixture. Man City versus Brentford, which you can see has ended 2-1. It looked like Brentford were set to produce an upset as they opened the scoreline through a Wissa header. Crowd goes quiet and the team need to respond and show something for the crowd to get back on their side. And it was only a matter of time before Erling Haaland equalizes with a right-footed finish. He then makes it 2-0, but this time it was a sublime dinked finish to give City the lead, and he adds another goal to his tally. That's his 9th goal of the season. Absolutely ridiculous from the Norwegian striker there. He almost got his hat-trick in the second half, but his shot is lifted over the bar by Flecken. He has another bite of the cherry, but this time his shot smashes the post and he's not able to make it 3 hat-tricks in a row, which would have been insane. But overall, a good win for City in the end. It wasn't an easy fixture, especially coming from an international break, but Haaland was certainly the difference maker in the end. Now, on to this fixture. Try my best to avoid doing this review, but let's get into it. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest, which you can see ended 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. The game started in a very flat manner from a Liverpool point of view. No real pace or intensity in their build-up play, plenty of possession, and against the side who pretty much parked the bus from the opening whistle. Liverpool were very close to opening the score sheet as Luis Diaz nicks the ball off Yates and drops him to the ground. He then dribbles infield, hits a low shot, but unfortunately the ball hits the inside of the post and goes out away from the goal. McAllister then produced an inch-perfect pass with the outside of his foot towards Jota, who was a couple of yards away from goal, but unfortunately wasn't able to make a clean contact on the ball. I believe it ended up hitting his knee. So for me, I have to say maybe should have done better there. But then moments later, Van Dijk has a chance from a corner kick with a header, but his effort goes wide. And McAllister was close himself to breaking the deadlock with a header. This time it was saved by the goalkeeper. I think McAllister should have done better there with his effort, as he had the whole goal to pretty much to aim at. The Forest keeper almost had a moment of embarrassment as he catches the ball from a loose header from Luis Diaz. Somehow it goes through his legs and behind him, and somehow he manages to parry the ball away from the goal. So at the time when I was watching it, I thought it went past the goal line, but that was not the case. Second half, Nuno Espirito Santo, the Forest manager, brought out the big guns in Elanga and Hudson, and that was certainly the game changer. They instantly caused havoc to the Liverpool defence, and it didn't take long for Forest to open the scoreline. Elanga, charging down that right-hand side, hits the ball across field towards Hudson-Odoi on the left wing. In trademark fashion, he cuts in, creates half a yard, and smashes the ball into the corner, posting in, and there's simply nothing that Alisson could do with that shot. Poor defending from Conor Bradley, in my opinion, who just came on as a sub. But having said that, I'll be honest, when that goal happened, I didn't believe we had enough in the tank to get the equaliser. We were shy of ourselves, and it's a shame as we've started the season so well. And, you know, because it's Liverpool's first defeats, you've got a lot of rival fans being shameless and, you know, saying all sorts, saying that we got humbled by Forest, which I totally disagree. If we got humbled, you know, I'm expecting a 3-0. I'm expecting that kind of scoreline. But that wasn't the case. They got the goal in the end through a counter-attack. We had plenty of chances to convert, especially in the first half. It just wasn't our day. But look, I'm not going to sit here and be bitter. I'm going to give credit to the opposition. I think Nuno Espirito Santo had the perfect game plan to stop Liverpool from winning, and it worked to the T. So credit to Nottingham Forest on the victory. For Liverpool, back to the drawing board, but also a learning curve for Arne Slot, because this is the type of oppositions we'll be facing in the league. Teams will come to Anfield and play that low block from the first second. So, yeah, a tough one to take. Slight overreaction from some quarters of our fan base, but I still have faith in Arne Slot. On to the next fixture. Southampton versus Manchester United, which ended 3-0 to the Red Devils. They managed to get themselves back on winning form after a poor start to the season. Southampton, in fact, almost opened a deadlock through a dribbling effort, but Onana denies him with a fantastic save. OZZIE'S almost scores himself, but his effort was blocked by the keeper. But then, a silly moment there from Dalot, who gives the penalty away after fouling Dibbling in the box. Penalty awarded. New signing Cameron Archer steps up. Unfortunately, he was denied by Onana. Poor penalty from the striker, in my opinion. That seemed to give United a bit of confidence, and they managed to open a score sheet through a Dillet header, his first goal for the club. And then after that, Southampton fell apart, and the goals came flowing through. United made it 2-0 through Rashford. I'm not sure how that ball hit the back of the net, as it was a whip shot, but it had no real power. But hey, they all count in the end. It gets from bad to worse for Southampton as Stephens fouls Garnacho around the halfway line, and he receives a straight red card, a dangerous challenge from the defender, and in the end, it was the right decision to send him off. Then United make it 3-0 as substitute Garnacho scores from close range, and that win allows United to go into the top half in 10th position. Now, onto this fixture. End up being a bit of a goal fest, to my surprise. Certainly not what I expected. And it was actually Everton who opened the scoreline through a Dwight McNeil shot. For me, the keeper should have done better as the ball creeps into the back of the net. Calvert-Lewin then makes it 2-0 with a fantastic header from McNeil's effort. At that stage, you're thinking Everton are cruising and maybe they can get the win. But they concede a goal as Watkins gets Villa back into the game with a close-range header, and he breaks his goal-scoring drought. Just like buses, when one comes, more buses follow. And that's exactly how it panned out in terms of goals for Watkins, who makes it 2-2 with a neat finish in front of goal. But then John Duran steals the show with a spectacular effort from 30 yards out. What a finish from the striker. I still don't know what to make of him. He's capable of producing these kind of moments, but for me, he needs to be a bit more consistent in regards to being labelled as a top striker or making his way to becoming a top striker. Everton almost got a late equaliser in the end as Calvert-Lewin smashes his shot onto the crossbar and out. Very unlucky from the striker. What a game this ended up being, and credit to both teams, especially as a neutral. It was definitely a spectacular watch. Villa just about got the win in the end, and they climb up the table. Now, in other games, we'll start with Bournemouth versus Chelsea. Now, Chelsea managed to grab the win very late on thanks to their new signing, Sancho. Played a big part in that winning goal there. But let's discuss some of the key moments in the game. Bournemouth almost opened the scoreline with a thunderous shot from Tavernier, who smashed the crossbar, and I'm sure that goal is probably still shaking as we speak. Kluivert has an opportunity, but his snap shot is parried away by Sanchez. Speaking of Sanchez, he gives a penalty away after his foul on Bournemouth's new signing, Evan Nielsen. For me, a bit of a soft one, but a foul is a foul and a penalty was awarded. Evan Nielsen steps up and he thought he scored his first goal for Bournemouth, but he was denied by a fantastic save by Sanchez, who was at full stretch to deny the striker. In the second half, Kluivert goes on a marauding run, but unfortunately he was unable to convert his shot. Christie tries his luck from long distance, but ends up hitting the outside of the post. Bournemouth are definitely applying the pressure at that stage, and you're thinking it's only a matter of time before they break the deadlock. Unfortunately, that moment never came, and it was Chelsea who grabbed the goal very late in the game. Great play from Sancho on the left wing, who hits the through ball, and it was all on Cuckoo from there onwards. Controls the ball, muscles his way through two players, and applies the lethal finish into the bottom corner. Great play from the Frenchman, and in my opinion, he should be leading the line for Chelsea. There was a lot of talk in the summer with regards to Chelsea signing or needing a new striker. I think he can be the man to take them forward, and I think he's a very lethal finisher if he's played up front and not on the wings. But overall, well done to Chelsea, who now move up to 7th in the league. On to the next fixture, Fulham versus West Ham. Another London affair over the weekend as Fulham and West Ham settled for a point each, with the scoreline being 1-1. Adama Traore thought he got himself an early penalty after he was brought down by Kilman. To be fair, it would have been soft if that was given, so the play was waved on. Troy has another crack towards goal. This time it was through a header, but he was unable to hit the target. For me, he should have done much better there and score, in fact. Eventually, Fulham take the lead as Smith Rowe does fantastically well to keep the ball alive on the byline. He squares it to Jimenez, who then scores from close range. West Ham almost got the equaliser through Bowen, but his shot is saved by Leno. But in the end, the Hammers managed to get the equaliser as Cole Fowles, quick thinking from a throw-in, sets up Bowen on that right channel. He cuts back a pass towards Danny Ings, who hits it low and hard and manages to find the back of the net. Leno, for me, should have done better there, who did get a hand on the ball, but unfortunately was not able to parry it away. Now on to the next fixture. Crystal Palace versus Leicester City, which ended 2-2. Palace managed to rescue themselves in the end with a point after trailing for most of the game. Jamie Vardy opened the scoreline with a fantastic finish as he goes around the keeper and slots it into the empty net. Mavididi makes it 2-0 in the second half with a fantastic half-volley finish. Mateta then responds and hits back of the net with a close-range finish, but had to wait a while as originally it was ruled out for offside, but VAR intervened and awarded the goal correctly for Palace. And then moments later, Palace made it 2-2 as Mateta scores from this penalty spot. Lerma was fouled by Conor Bradley in the box. Awful challenge from the defender and the former Evertonian as well. On to the next fixture. This was a fixture from yesterday. Wolves versus Newcastle. Newcastle ended up getting a valuable point away from home. Anthony Gordon almost makes it 1-0 for Newcastle in the first half with a fantastic mazy run from his own half. But unfortunately, his shot in the end hits the woodwork. But it's Wolves who broke the deadlock and took the lead. Great hold-up play by Larson on the right channel. He squares the ball into the 6-yard box. João Gomez does fantastically well to dummy the ball, and the ball arrives to Lemina, who drives the ball into the back of the net and scores from close range to make it 1-0. Larson almost gets on the score sheet himself in the second half, but he ends up hitting the outside of the post. And then moments later, he had a very big opportunity with a header that was saved by the keeper. For me, he should have scored, and it ended up being a bit costly as Newcastle grabbed the equaliser. And what a sensational strike it was from Fabian Schär, who hits a screamer from the edge of the box and into the top corner. Came out of nowhere, to be fair. But that wasn't even the best strike of the game, as Harvey Barnes matches him and with his effort. He cuts in, hits the ball with real power into the corner to give Newcastle the win. Some absolute belters from Newcastle, and that win moves them up to third place. And the final fixture of match week 4 is Brighton versus Ipswich Town. Goalless in the end, but for Brighton, they remain unbeaten in the league. But you have to say they probably should have walked away with all 3 points. There was that moment in the game where Ruta was through on goal. He hits a left-footed shot that is parried away by the keeper. Mitoma applies a side-footed effort from the rebound, but Muric denies him with a diving save. Mitoma then has a second chance, but his final shot misses the target completely. So when you get that kind of moment, you just feel like it might not be your day. In the second half, the chances didn't stop, and Brighton certainly applied a lot of pressure on Ipswich Town. But it looked like Ipswich Town almost nicked the winner through a counter-attack as their new signing, Delap, goes through on goal and smashes the post. It was their first shot of the game, and he almost made it count. Hutchison is then able to hit Brighton with another counter-attack, but in the end, his shot goes straight at the keeper. No one seems to be wearing their shooting boots on the day. So both teams have had to settle for a point each. And that's the end of match week 4 review. But before we close the show, it's time to reveal the FPL Manager of the Week. And that goes to Maya Tonison. And her team is the Gold Diggers, which is a quite cool name. And she managed to attain 78 points. So well done to Maya. She's ended up moving to 16th place in the league. So well done to her. In terms of my performance, below par, just like Liverpool, to be fair. I got a measly 41 points and I've dropped to 47th in the league. So a long road for me to try and climb up the table. So what we can do now, we can have a look at the table and see who is in the top 10. So in first place, Handy Abdael remains the leader of the FPL. His team is Forest Gump and he's on 309 points. He only got 47 points in this match week. So similar scoreline to mine. Muma Kabamba has moved up to second. Godwin Kusi is in third place. Rich and Ponsa has dropped to fourth. Mujini Alex has dropped to fifth. Melissa Morris has dropped to sixth. And in joint six, you've got Rosami Tofik And then you've got Lost Sheep, who has moved up to 8th position. And you've got Emmanuel Babalola in 9th. And then you've got two teams in Vamshi, Chinuri, and Vaughan Clark occupying a 10th position as a joint venture there. So that is the FPL. I am all the way down to 47th position. So I have a lot of work to do, but hey, there's a long season ahead of us. Before we close the show, we might as well look ahead of the fixtures in match week 5, and I'll give you my predictions of those games. So the first game is a midday kickoff between West Ham and Chelsea, so that should be a feisty encounter. In terms of scoreline, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Chelsea. And then next fixture, you've got Aston Villa versus Wolves. So Midlands Derby, this is more or less, isn't it? I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory for Villa. Fulham versus Newcastle. This will be. I think this game will have a lot of goals. I'm going to go for a 2-2 result. Leicester versus Everton. I'm going to go for a Leicester win, a 1-0 victory. Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Liverpool have a fixture tomorrow against AC Milan. So how would they respond after losing to Forest last weekend? Hopefully positively, in my opinion. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for the Reds. Southampton versus Ipswich Town. So two promoted teams here. I'm going for Ipswich Town win. I think they'll win 1-0. Spurs versus Brentford. You'd expect Spurs to show a bit of a response. I'm going to give a 2-1 victory to Spurs. Palace versus Manchester United. I'm actually going to go for Palace win. I think they might surprise United. United tend to not do well at Selhurst Park, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Palace. And then the two fixtures on Sunday, I should say. Brighton versus Forest. 1-0 to Brighton. And this is the big encounter. It's come so quickly in the season. City versus Arsenal. I'm going for a 2-0 victory for the Citizens. So that's my quick prediction of match week 5. Drop a comment and let me know your scorelines. Who do you see winning in this upcoming match week? And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Actually, wait, we do have a comment here. So big up to Richard. He says, hi, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to you, Richard. He says, how are you? All good, Richard. Hope you're doing well as well. He said, Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 1 is unacceptable. We need to improve and beat now until end of the season. No mistakes and no errors. Yeah, it's a big defeat for us in terms of the opposition. So it's a hard one to swallow because we've been in such great form. But for me, it's just one loss. We kind of have to just let it be in the past and try and move on as a team. So long season ahead of us. We're only touching match week 4, match week 5 coming up this weekend. So yeah, lots to play for. Lots of ups and downs expected in the season. So yeah, it's not going to be a smooth road, but hey, that's why we love the game sometimes. So yeah, let's see how Liverpool respond. We've got a big fixture tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully we can make it right in the Champions League. So yes, that is it today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of my next show, it will actually be taking place very shortly in 25 minutes as I'll be doing a match preview of Liverpool's first Champions League fixture against AC Milan. So feel free to join me after the show. And yes, make sure you hit that notification bell for all my upcoming shows coming up this week. And also follow me on social media for all the latest updates. You can follow me at Aussie.ftp on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.